This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
Good evening. I'm here to call to order the Public Safety Building Complex, our Building Committee's meeting on Monday, January 29th. It's currently about 4:35. First order of business is open time for the public. And I don't believe anybody here for open time for the public. And we have two people here, Denise Riggs and Jim Palermo, relative to our video update and to meet some community members. So perhaps we want to start that.
Have you introduce ourselves?
Sure. Denise and Jim, I'm Ian Illingsworth, Police Chief. Nice, no, Jim. Denise, nice to meet you.
Yep.
Cindy Palmer. I know both of you, and I'm the clerk of this committee.
I'm Mark Arnold, just an at-large. Mark Machu, at-large as well.
Charlie Janicki, at-large member.
Shane, at-large.
Rich Fasoli, interim fire chief.
Chris Fowles, select board.
And Ed Gibson, ex officio member for this committee, hiding behind you. Town administrator.
And just for context relative to this portion of the meeting, the committee thought it would be beneficial to have community members perhaps speak relative to the necessity of the Public Safety Building Committee, and that is the reason why Denise and Jim are present today. Jim and Denise, would you like to add anything before?
No, I'm anxious to learn what it is you wanted.
All right. So what we thought would be beneficial as a committee was to have other stakeholders that weren't just law enforcement and fire department expressing the need, or at least to be able to demonstrate the need for a new public safety building complex. And we think that would be more of an unbiased approach versus the two department heads that would be housed in a new building.
Sort of the basic average citizen of town kind of thing, I think.
Right.
Have you hashed out what that's going to look like? And is it going to be more on that video?
So,
Yeah,
yes.
we've got the video, we've got a draft of the video to show, and then there's other public engagement strategies that we're working with. So the video is one of 2 or 3 things that we're working on. One is a page that, whether you have the time to hang in there, but Cindy's worked on an FAQ page that we'll have up somewhere on a website and whatever, and I've been working on a sort of a trivia quiz on police and fire, which will be out on Facebook and the website as well. So we're just trying to start just bringing the public along with the idea of the need for the public safety complex.
In addition, tours of the police and fire departments, as well as a pamphlet that will be mailed out to the community as soon as it's developed.
Right.
We're working on that.
And so this was basically the East Hampton media came and interviewed you two and did a walkthrough and shot around the station. So let's see if I
Right,
can...
really kind of pointing out
So before you,
why they're not as functional as they're not functional places for the needs of the police and fire.
a couple questions just before we show it. Have we exhausted the opportunity for East Hampton Media to do videos? And the reason I ask that is I wonder if while you're watching this, you might think to yourself, what if I was there live, and what would I ask, and what would I want to know, and what would I say? Okay, I mean they're pretty amazing videos in my opinion. That they show some of the issues. Maybe there's tons more issues, but I just wonder if, being sort of the public seeing this, if that's something we could think about, that an additional video could be Denise walking through and Jim walking through, if you're interested. I don't know, have we exhausted our opportunity to use East Hampton Media, or could they do more videos?
Well, I know that they indicated that they could edit this video with members of the community.
Yeah.
I know that they did indicate that with us.
So like insert other voices?
Yes.
Right,
Yes.
okay. Yeah, people and voices, yeah. I mean, I think that was the intent. I mean, we had shown a sample video from some other town where it was just your basic average citizen who had nothing to do with police or fire, just standing up saying, hey, this is the situation in town and this is what we need, kind of thing. So it was that kind of impartial voice, if you will, rather than police and fire. This one I think is about 4 minutes long, and I wasn't sure whether it was long enough. I know we said we wanted it, it might be like 3 minutes on fire and 3 minutes on police. It may be too short. I don't know, but I know East Hampton Media was wanting some feedback, and this is their first stab at doing it, and did an edit, and I think they're looking to see if we've got some comments of things that we want to tell them. So let me try this, and I don't know if I can.
Just so you know, they interviewed us first, and then they went out and shot the video. So
they put all this on top
right.
of that. Yeah. Let me just see how this goes. All right, let's try it. I don't know. See if it works. Please work. There we go. It's a little loud.
Hello, my name is Rich Fasoli. I am the interim fire chief for the town of Southampton. Basically, our station was built in 1863. The in bays were added in the 1970s. It's pretty old and cramped here. There's no room for storage. There's no room for any more vehicles. A lot of our stuff is stored outside in the trailer out back. Our living quarters are a FEMA trailer that is attached to the side of the building. Here in the office, the ceiling has fallen down from roof leaks. Out in the bay, we have water coming up through the floor. When there's heavy rains, you cannot walk in between the fire trucks with any ease. You have to walk around. There's a maze to get to the trucks. To respond to a call, you have to come in through the side door, get your gear on, and depending on what truck you're going out, you have to make your way over to that vehicle, and it's all through little areas where you have to walk through.
Hello, my name is Ian Illingsworth, Chief of Police in Southampton, Massachusetts. I'm here today to discuss the public safety complex. Relative to the police department, there are 4 main concerns. The first concern is we are not ADA compliant here at the police department. The police department is housed in the old town hall, which is built in approximately 1908. And in the mid-1960s, the interior was redesigned to incorporate municipal offices. Those same municipal offices are in existence today. However, they've been repurposed for police functions. As you walk into the building, you recognize that this is not a building where it's compatible for people with disabilities. Our hallways are not compatible, and this is a 2-story building with offices on the second floor that does not have an elevator to support people that have physical disabilities. Additionally, we have concerns about the arrestees' security and privacy. When we arrest somebody, we bring them to the front door of the police department, which is not the front door of the town hall. It's actually the basement of the police department, but that's the public access route for our building. That has caused for us to bring people that were into custody into the department in very public view, and as well as there's not a lot of security. We cannot drive them into the garage because the garage is too small. It can't act as what we would consider a sally port because the doors will not open all the way. And furthermore, after the person is booked, we have to walk them through the main corridor of the police department and place them in cells. This is not an ideal situation to include the narrow hallway as well as a step, and we have other offices further down the hallway to include where we interview victims and witnesses. So at times we have to actually walk witnesses by the people that we have in custody that victimize these people. Additionally, as information technology advances, this building was not designed. Built in 1908, redesigned in the 1960s, and as we improve our information technology at the police department, it is not practical in means of the location of some of our technology advancements, such as our fingerprint machines, our radios, and the technology for operations. I hope this video provides you with the appropriate information and the current needs of the police department. So I believe that there's certainly room in here to incorporate, citizens to impart their views as well.
Yeah, so. Thoughts and reactions, I don't know. Anybody? Yeah.
Chris, is there a possibility of getting an over aerial shot at these buildings just so people understand where they really are and how washed they are?
I don't know, we had some, I think part of this.
I think there's some drone shots.
I think we've got some drone shots from, you've got one, I think, of the fire station, don't you? Or is that, isn't there a drone shot of the fire station?
Yeah.
We can also probably get it on Google Maps too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just looking at trying to get people to understand. Just, it's not just the interior of the building, it's the whole layout of everything.
Yeah, good idea.
Remember the video you did for the bridge project? Did that have those aerial shots?
I may have in my archives aerial shots of all those buildings. The problem is I have like terabytes of memory.
Me too.
You know how slow we're getting?
So Charlie, I was looking at the old report that you shared with this committee way the heck back, whatever, a year and a half ago, and I think there were aerial shots in that.
There may have been.
Yeah.
There may have been. I know originally when we worked on this thing like 12 years ago, I had a drone come over and videotape these buildings, this building, Common Park, and a few other things in town. But I would have to do a deep dive search to go find where those would be, and they're not going to be current.
Right.
That's a good point.
You know, I mean, if you want to see how old the pictures are that I've taken, go down to the hallway over by the assessor's office. All those pictures on the walls are pictures I've taken, including the aerial ones.
The one thing is, it started out, I think it started out with the shot, I think, of the fire station on the outside. What it didn't do, when it transitioned to Ian, it didn't show anything as the outside there. The outside of the police station came in later on, and I didn't know if that was a good transition, or there should be that kind of photo moved up earlier. I don't know, that was just one of my thoughts, but.
No, I agree with you, Chris. You want to start the building first,
So.
then do the interview so people know what they're talking about. The problem with the police station is, in my mind, the picture of the back of the police station is not a place people see.
Right.
So it's easier at a fire station, you drive down Route 10, you see it, but the back of the police station, nobody sees that unless they're in the police department.
Actually, I think you had a slight error in what you said, because you got to the point and you said in the front of the police department. The front of the, I don't know how you said it, but do you remember what he said? Enter, you don't enter by the front of the building, or something like that. But
The front door or something?
Yeah, you said police department, and you should have said front of the building, which is on East Street, something like that. I saw it quickly, maybe I'm wrong. Yeah. I'm interested in their response, just because you're seeing it for the first time and you're actually just getting introduced to all this.
Two things, actually. When Janet was the person who asked me if I was interested in doing this, and I immediately thought what an interesting perspective it would be if, and I thought that I was going to be on video, so if that's not, if it's just voice, that's fine too, but that's what I thought this was. What an interesting perspective it would be if you're bringing me through these buildings for the very first time, because I have not been in either one. So that would be a really honest, reaction, and that might really get the point across of how badly these buildings need to be redone, repurposed. And second is that the two videos are very well done. You both are very articulate, but it's very factual, and maybe with the community, a lay person coming in and just kind of softening it up.
Sure.
Walking in the front door, or just making it more emotional, more people friendly.
So would both of you be interested in perhaps a tour of the building?
Sure.
And would you, because what we can do is we can reach out to East Hampton Media and ask if they can edit in the perspective of somebody from the public. And if, it sounds like you're suggesting actually make it your first time in there, so you get that real, that raw, if you will, kind of perspective. Okay.
It could be interesting because I think that would allow both of you to also be videoed. I guess I had that in my mind, that it wouldn't just be audio, but it would be, video and audio. But the first couple minutes could be just the brief tour without too many facts and figures. And then once the mini tour is done, then jump into those individual, segments.
Me trying to walk through that wall and then the side of the fire truck.
Yeah, a human walking through, not just,
Right,
I wonder what Jim says here.
I think you both did a great job, just on the fire station, you did a great job thing, but is there a concern regarding the safety of the firefighters and the EMTs in that building with trucks pulling out in the narrow? I mean, is that something that, I worked there a couple of times, and that was one was concerned about getting crushed between a wall and a fire truck.
And the wet floor, that's dangerous,
Well, and it was showed a little bit more in the police about Ian opening the door there that could barely open, right? Can't open all the, and it's even worse with the fire trucks that you can't even do that. So I don't know how we could do it with somebody in full gear trying to get into the apparatus. I mean, I don't know if do you pull them out before people get in? Is that what you do now? The firefighters? Do you have to pull the engine out of the station?
No, you can get in.
Yeah, you can.
It takes a little bit, but
I mean, that might be a a little, I don't know, it might be an additional piece of footage. I don't know.
It's real.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
It's real.
Yeah.
And it must curtail your response time.
Yeah, I mean, you could show the trucks pulling out of the bay because it's tight for one of the truck in the middle bay, engine 4. You gotta have it lined up just right to get in and out. So
it could be just a little bit more there, maybe. I don't know.
Jim,
I'm trying to conceptualize this a little bit because I think when we first talked, you mentioned we would be doing voiceover.
Yeah, and that was just to get you here, sorry.
And again, I think what was done very well. But it's something that I've heard ever since I moved to town in 2003, the same message. I'm concerned, where is this going to be shown? And what audience are you trying to reach? And I guess what I'm trying to say, I think the need is a little bit more urgent than the film might portray it to be. I've been supporting this for like 15, 16 years, and I continue to support the effort, but I'm just wondering, where will it be shown?
So it'll be on the town website, on our social media platforms as well. It'll be accessible, and also at I believe we're going to have a coordinated town informational meeting with the engineers.
Right. And I think East Hampton Media can run it as a public service announcement on East Hampton Media on Channel 191, and or have it as a YouTube clip that somebody could just, tap into our YouTube channel and do that.
We're trying to reach everybody we can, Jim. Really, every demographic.
It's really...
Would it be possible to load that onto the town website, not Facebook?
Both.
Yeah, both. We can do them both. Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
I personally object to using Facebook for people having to go on Facebook and compromising their security or privacy in order to obtain information to which they're entitled to have as citizens.
Yeah.
But
we definitely can put it on the town website.
So I'm trying to conceptualize what more could we say? I mean, you've given all the facts.
Yeah. Well, just hearing that, Jim, just what's striking me. So, just as an idea. So with, the idea of a tour, perhaps, a short tour with Denise, go into what's there, and then the ending part could be a Jim saying, hey, look, I've been in town for 20 years. We've been talking about this for 20 years. It's, it's more than urgent. I mean, you could be the wrap-up person talking just about some of those things that you just said, for example. I mean, that might be the nice, kind of package, I don't know, as an idea. I'm sorry.
John?
Sorry.
No, by all means.
I'm sorry.
By all means.
Well, this video is not the wrap-up. This video
No.
is the introduction.
Yeah,
Then there needs to be another video explaining the process of how we're getting to where we are. And then finally, there's going to be a video that's going to have to explain why we need to get this supported. Because this is the introduction of the need. But it's not the process of the committee and how we got to where we're at.
That's a good point, because what I just heard Denise say was, well, I can see where we're going to need to repurpose these buildings, and that's not where we're going at all. We're talking about an entirely new building.
Yeah.
So I think the first thing people are going to say is, so what are we doing at this point, And so I guess your point, Charlie, is to explain where we're going with this. Yeah.
And we could make a statement in there about repurposing the buildings, that it would avail the buildings to be utilized by other programs in the community,
Well,
which
yeah.
remain to be seen.
Remains to be seen, right.
well, some of that will come out in other ways, though. It's not all necessarily in video. I mean, through the FAQ thing that Cindy's developing, some of that will be just question and answer, because you've got a bunch of questions from townspeople or pretend townspeople.
No, real townspeople.
Real townspeople,
Yeah.
About, why can't we use the current station? Why can't we renovate the current station? So we'd have a question and answer thing on the town website, for example. So some of that will come in different ways. It won't all be video, but we ought to have at least another video, I think, probably.
I think we need a second video, but I think we need to make sure we bundle this thing so everything complements the other part to it.
Yeah.
So that when it walks through, you can.
I think it's more impactful if it was a video with an audio than just reading something. That's my feeling, that it's maybe with a background of the situation, what we need. We're not there yet, we're still working on it, but I'm just thinking, just reading a frequently asked questions thing is only one sensory opportunity. It's reading, it's not, hearing and seeing at the same time.
Jim and I have known each other for a couple of weeks, and we both have the same opinion. Most of the people that have been in town know this has been an issue since day one. It's that second step that nobody's not sure what's going on here. How are we moving forward, and why do we reach the conclusions we reach?
All that's going to be, we've got a separate page, though, on the town website, on the Public Safety Building Committee's got its own page, separate from fire and police. So any updates we want to put up there, we can do that. Any reports, anything that we're doing, design, drawings, any of that stuff can be up there, and we can get word out that way, too, to people
But we need
to look
to be
at that.
able to, and I don't mean to interrupt, but we need to make sure that the population realizes they can go there and find that.
Right, exactly, yeah. Yeah.
I think, Denise, with your idea of a tour, and maybe even asking questions, well, like, for instance, if you're touring the police department and you come upon a room or you have a question that they didn't address, that you want to know, that would be a good way to get that addressed.
Yeah. I mean, a whole bunch of things could come out. And, most of it's trash, but, there might be some new things that come to light through doing it that way.
I think too, Chief, in your part, for example, if you could preface what you've already done by making a statement, it's really urgent that we update our public safety facilities.
Yeah, I do agree with you about the urgency of it. It doesn't come across. So.
Yeah.
Okay, yep.
And you mentioned ADA, but I mean, it's unsafe for the officers. As I recall over the years, the ventilation in that building is not adequate.
I would stress the safety part. The part that's not safe for the officers is the transport of the arrestees, right? So when you bring our arrestees from our booking area down that hallway, down a step, it's also not safe for them. But there are times where somebody might be in an incapacitated state, or they're just intoxicated, and they don't want to go into a cell. We have to navigate them through that small area, down a step, into another room between two doors, and that's where the safety, I think if we wanted to stress safety, and we have a short amount of time to do it, we really should focus on the fire department, because that ventilation is
Non-existent.
It's not existent. And I think it was what somebody, actually, Jim, maybe you brought it up about, or no, maybe it was Mark, that the accident, the potential for an accident happening when that fire truck is backing in and perhaps, running over somebody or hitting somebody. I mean, there's literally 2.5 feet between the walls and the apparatuses. That's not safe.
Is there, I think the ADA compliance part is important though in the police department. Are there other, if I recall, there are 2 or 3 shots, one of like a file room and then the bathroom and whatever else. Is there anything else that, I don't know. Well, what's visually,
I think if we were to go through the process of bringing, let's say, a witness in or a victim, and they had a physical disability, let's just say they're in a wheelchair, we would not be able to bring them in an adequate room with the way it's currently designed. I don't think it's possible. Perhaps you get them in there, but that step, it's a very tight hallway right where that step is. The restrooms are not ADA compliant, nor is the door getting in.
Is that illegal?
Really, even if somebody were to pull up and they required a wheelchair, they might not be able to get into the front door.
Those are important points, though. I mean, I never gave it a thought that a witness might be in a wheelchair, but it also exposes the town to lawsuits, doesn't it? So
I think what we have to do is we have to condense it though in a video that's not too long. We're not going to lose the interest of the public either, right? So we have to come up with that balance.
I don't mean to sound like a wise guy, but I think I agree with you. We don't want it too long. But the initial catch to get people,
sure,
oh, this is interesting.
I agree with you.
I mean, it was very factful and it was very well done, and I'm not critical of that at all, but you want people to say, wow, I didn't know that.
I think it was almost too short.
Yeah, I think, at 4 minutes, I think we could go another 2 minutes. I mean, I don't think 6 minutes is losing anybody's attention.
I'm going to say something that I remember the chief saying when we had the interviews with the firm that's doing the feasibility study. You gave the example of somebody that's come in to complain about domestic violence, and then your officer goes out and finds the individual who's the potential perpetrator, and they have to walk right by the individual who is totally stressed out because they got the guts up to come into the police department and complain, and then the bad guy has to walk by in front of them.
So to take somebody's victim's statement at our police department, we have to actually walk them by the cell block where, and that's actually, I think it was expressed in the video. I think I did express that in the video, but they're walking by the person that just victimized them. That's not appropriate. We have the means to shut a door, but they can still hear them. Sometimes people that are in custody aren't necessarily the most compliant, and they can be loud.
Would it be useful, in terms of the tour, would it be useful for Denise to come in through the Sally Port and in that way, like?
Through the booking.
Or through the booking area?
Yes,
I mean, just at that, and where's the evidence area, and where's do you do fingerprints here? I mean, I don't know,
Yes.
any of those kind of thoughts. I mean, I don't know, that might be an idea just to get a little bit more. I mean, I think you've expressed, the word that comes out of your mouth every other minute is functionality. And I think along with the ADA compliance, the functionality of that police department is so ridiculous in terms of, where you can put things, hidden under the stairs is one of your main
storage areas. Have some evidences in there.
Yeah, so I mean, somehow we've got to bring that out for those that don't know. And I agree that, there's a lot of people in town that have had this on their brain for years, but there's also a whole lot of people that have never ever been and have never had the occasion to go to either station. And so I think this really has to be a bit more
the only time I was there was when they bailed Charlie out.
Yeah, we know.
But, and again, I'm just talking, I don't mean to monopolize, but I think what you need first is a script. And then with the script, you fit the video to the script. And then you block it out and say, this is what we're going to do. Well, you could do a storyboard or just write a script, but, we have to decide in the script what are these most salient points you want to make and make it a little, catchy. You might, for example, start with a police officer leading an actor into the station who's not compliant. And then you step in and say, this is among the problems that we're facing right now in the police department. It's not safe, it's not ADE compliant, and the town is, exposed to, whatever it might be, lawsuits, whatever it might be. This is what we're working with, and then go in and show.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, and then have the same thing at the fire department. One of the things might be, Chief, did the ambulances ever have problems backing into the building, or they're pretty good drivers? I realize you don't have to worry about it. And I don't want to...
Yeah, I mean, the ambulances usually go pretty good.
Having trouble getting the equipment in.
The fire trucks are an issue.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of practice to get it backed in there, yeah.
Right, and those are expensive pieces of equipment.
Right.
And there's a risk to even handling that. Plus,
I mean, in the past, the doors were actually narrower, and when I first started, there was a guy, the ladder stuck out the side, and you had to go straight out, but if you cut too early, he would tear the ladders right off.
Ooh.
So.
Or take the door down.
Yeah.
Bob Harrier.
Yeah.
So, but the doors have been widened over the years, so.
Intentionally, or?
Yes. Well, as the trucks get bigger.
Yeah, there's self-modification going.
And I think that's a good point, as the trucks get bigger, because what we're also aware of is that there's a need to plan a little bit for the future, not only for more staffing, but for upgraded equipment or upgraded whatever is needed for our public safety people to function and to meet code or to meet regulations, et cetera.
Sure.
And that's the part that I think we could bring out a little bit more too.
And I think, just another thing, I think there are a lot of residents who don't realize that there are people on duty at the fire department 24/7. And why do they need this big trailer? It's not to play.
Yeah.
And it would perhaps help us to attract per diem firefighters. If they had a place that's fairly comfortable, because they're on long duties and they're working second jobs.
So, like you said, part of that script could include just a very brief introduction as to the logistics of the police department, the actual staffing levels.
Excellent, sure. Yeah.
That trailer was temporary. How many years ago is that now?
Well, I remember when I first came here, the town, there's a crack in the back wall, I think, of the fire department, right?
It's still there.
It's still there?
Oh, yeah.
That building is going to be one of those house of cards. When it starts to come down, it's coming down.
So how do we want to, I know East Hampton Media wants to get some feedback from you guys, so how do you want?
So I jotted down notes of what everybody said, and so this is what I included in my the notes. The raw perspective that Denise spoke of about walking in there and kind of just for the first time and recognizing and asking questions. The firefighter, the safety of the firefighters in their building, the urgency, you stress the urgency, and also something a little bit more scripted where we can have that introduction, and I understand where you're going with this script. Right. So how this went was when we went there, when East Hampton Media came, it wasn't a question and answer. It was just a narrative kind of version, and I think as a result of that, and and they were there for much longer than the video, so they had to edit and take what they thought was the most productive pieces or the most influential pieces and put it together in this manner. So I think that it would be a good idea to try to make it flow with a scripted format, like you said, is.
You know, I think your interviews and so forth, being unscripted, was great. But just some kind of setting things up. But, yeah.
So I wonder if maybe perhaps in the next meeting, we can ask a representative from East Hampton Media to come to the meeting and we can express to them what we're looking for. Or we rather just delegate somebody in the committee to reach out to them.
So the next meeting, we got HKT by Zoom for part of the meeting, or most of the meeting.
I think because I got the impression that they were hoping to kind of tie it all together, so I think it would be better to try and just reach out with some notes and whatever, and see availability in terms of, both Jim and Denise, in terms of when you could be available, that we could tie schedules together for, the tour and some sort of wrap up. I don't know.
Keep in mind the second video too.
Yeah, well, get through the first one.
Yeah, I know, but you want to make sure it dovetails.
I guess the question would be, would you guys like to sort of write your own script so that it becomes yours rather than some, anybody here trying to put some words on paper? I mean, it's more believable in many ways, I think, if it kind of comes from you, so I don't know how you would recommend you wanted to proceed.
I wouldn't feel able to make my own script.
Yeah.
Because I don't know the ins and intricacies of the fire department or the police department. I think for me, it was more my reaction to the buildings.
Okay.
That would be really authentic and believable.
Sure, okay.
Is there anybody at East Hampton Media that would help write the script? That could help?
And again, I
don't know.
Speak out. I was in broadcasting, worked my way through college and that. But that was 60 years ago. But I'd be happy to try to write a script. If you could send me the video, like to my computer, so I can, and any notes or anything that you think is important.
Your neighbor across the street, moi, I have the notes of a lot, Jim, of stuff. So at some point, if you want to sit down together and kind of work at this.
Yeah.
I know you're a great writer. I know you often write letters to the editor and things like that. So I think Jim might be able to help with it.
Well, I guess, but what I'm not trying to say though is that we write over what has been done.
Yeah.
I mean, I was thinking about more your piece for you is what I was thinking in terms of what you might want to say in terms of the average citizen kind of thing. But
with regard to me, I wouldn't have anything to add other than what has already been said, and I believe, working with that. But I'd also suggest maybe you get a more prominent local figure than me to speak. I'm trying to think whom.
I think we wanted just kind of, not that you're ordinary, but just kind of an ordinary citizen, kind of a perspective versus somebody that, no, you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think that was our thinking, right? That
it was to get somebody that was a member of the community to try to, in this video that we saw that we thought was, was influential, it was essentially narrated by a member of the community. And she did an excellent job.
I could send that to you guys if that would help. Just that's what spurred us on for having our own video. So I forget what town it was now, but I've got it in my thing. I can forward it to you.
Charlie?
I like Jim's comment about having a little play action of taking somebody down the hallway through that step area to the lock-in. And I think a little play action at the fire station where they have to come out of the trailer, down the ramp, and around all the equipment to get to the ambulance. Just a quick, 5-10 seconds, just sort of dramatize to everybody, not just have people talking, but a little pay attention here. You see what's going on?
Right. And what you've already recorded could be dubbed in as a voiceover. You know, to just sort of illustrate.
Right, because they can just edit. They can pick
Oh,
this
yeah,
apart
I
and
mean,
just edit.
in my day, it was all, you know, real tight tape machines and so forth, and now they do it digitally, and it's a lot easier. But again, I'd be happy to try to put a script together based on what you've already done, to just sort of make it, and I like the idea of you doing a tour, you know, I think that's great.
Right, or perhaps, an outline as to how we want it to flow, right? Versus a script, maybe an outline of how we want it to flow.
Well, a script, usually, you know, you've got the audio, and then on the side, we have instructions on what you want the video to be.
Okay.
And I said before, I'm not overselling myself, I haven't done it in 60 years, but...
Jim, I can send you the link. However, hopefully your IT capabilities are better than mine, because it's not something you just open. You have to open it through a Google account. Do you have a Google account?
Would that be Gmail?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you do. Okay, you should be able to open it through that then.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'll send the link to you.
Okay. I record for Valley Eye Radio, and that's the only thing I use my Gmail account for. But I'll give you my Gmail address.
Sure, okay.
I don't know it offhand.
That's fine. Any other matters that we want to discuss relative to the video and our...
Well, I think maybe just an idea of timing in terms of how available either of you are with your schedules to even do anything, if we can get East Hampton Media on board to do something. What kind of time frame are you, what's good for you in terms of, mornings, afternoons, whatever? I mean, what's possible?
I can be flexible.
I can be flexible too. I'm retired.
Except I'm gone half of March, so.
Yeah, well, I think we want to get it done before then, as soon as we can. Yeah, I think it would be good.
Relative to time, we talked before about a 3 or 4 minute video. We've added about twice that now with the narrative and the walkthrough and then the arrestee being escorted.
Yeah.
I don't know what is a reasonable time. Maybe East Hampton Media can fill
Yeah.
us in was
Right,
reasonable.
yeah.
And I think the arrestee should be somebody who's being assisted by the officer, not resisting.
Yes.
Like somebody in a wheelchair or something like that.
Well, that would go good. You can get the wheelchair
I
down
know,
the
but
hallway.
to demonstrate,
Yeah, we tend not to arrest people in wheelchairs, so.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you my card, it has my email address, so if you want to
great.
send me an email, so I'll know what you need.
Great. That's great.
So how long was this one?
4 minutes.
Yeah.
It's too short.
4 minutes and 15 seconds. I think it's too short, but
What did you think?
add things to it, yeah.
Yeah, this one.
And they can edit, they'll be able to edit, I think.
Well, we were worried that we didn't want it too long, but this was too short. I mean, it was just, there was so much content in this. And then if we add the perspectives and the, raw response and the narrative script overview, I mean, I don't know why it couldn't be 8 or 10 minutes, but is there a reason why it shouldn't be that long? It just doesn't seem that long.
That and where you're going to get it to play. I mean,
What do you mean, too heavy?
well, for example, if it's too long,
Yeah.
it might not, like, for example, a lot of operations like East Hampton or something, programs aren't timed properly, and sometimes they have big gaps between programs, and you can fill it. Usually it's a minute, maybe 2 minutes, 10 minutes might be too
Oh,
long.
you're talking like on Channel 191, Jim?
Yeah.
Oh,
Or, if you're just going to put it on the
on website.
It's a town website,
Yeah.
time's not an issue, but if you're trying to get it broadcast.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
yeah, I think, we'd have to figure that out, but I think it would be more of a PSA, not just a filler. I mean, just a public service announcement, so it's got a dedicated time and space somehow that people could tune into.
The video that prompted our interest in this, I felt was just a little too long. I started losing a little bit with that
How
video.
long was that? Do you remember?
I don't remember, but I remember it's just a little too long, where I started losing a little bit of interest in it. So I think we definitely want to keep the interest.
Yeah.
Well, true.
Well, hopefully East Hampton Media could tell us. I mean, 10 minutes is probably a little long. 8 minutes is maybe doable.
I can reach out to East Hampton and ask what would be a recommended time frame.
And even if they say that'd be too long, somebody used the term public service PSAs. We can do a series of PSAs, it'd be a minute or less.
That's true. You could actually almost break it up, have one on fire and one on police too. I mean, you could,
Yeah.
you know, I think there's always.
Or if you have a, you know, if you brand it, for example, when we were working the library thing, it was mind the gap, you know, the difference between funding, but if you could brand it,
You got a quickie
yeah, and then
Yes.
just, you know,
comment?
put it within a minute format or 30 seconds.
Charlie?
Is there any thought about, not the whole committee, but parts of the committee going like to the Mothers Club, the Lions Club, other groups in town, and take the video so that you could use that as an opener and then have an open discussion with the groups so that they understand what's going on?
Yeah.
So not just use it on the town website.
Yeah.
Have it as a,
We said that quite a long time
Yeah.
ago. If you're involved in another committee or whatever, take a minute, even though it's nothing to do with whatever the committee is, like assessors, and be sure the assessors are brought up to date about what's going on. That's a small committee.
But I think we were talking like to have a time with the chiefs at the senior center, for example.
Yeah.
So to have, you know, have the video at one of their luncheons or whatever, or maybe at a library meeting, or, you know, I think there's ways to do that. Yeah, I think we could do that. Yeah.
Yep.
some groups don't pay any attention when it's on the town website.
Can you show it at a select board meeting or more than one? You know, as, you know, your update on what's going on with the Public Safety Building Committee?
I'm sure we could if we wanted to. Yeah, I mean, I think finding a place to put it out there is, we can make it happen. So happen.
All right, just to recap, so I know where we're at with this. Jim, I'll send you the video.
Send it to both.
Both of them, I can send it both to you, and perhaps you could provide us with some of your specific input, maybe a script or the flow that you think is important. I'll reach out to East Hampton Media about a recommended time, and also give them some of our general, what we'd like to see in addition to the video that we spoke of, and request some times, maybe for you to do a tour of both the police and fire, and as well as you, Jim. Okay, and I can myself and Jim, Chief Fasoli can arrange that, and we'll reach out to you early next week.
Okay.
Once I reach out to East Hampton Media. Does that work?
Sounds great.
Seems good.
Any other comments or questions or concerns or feedback on this portion?
Yeah, I think you guys did a great job with the video. But sometimes, like, you guys know the subject so well. You said, okay, you have to go through this side door and then go through this, and you know exactly what that means. But I think if we had like a short 30-second simulated response of somebody being filmed going into the fire truck when the bell rings, then they would see, you know, that it's, okay, this is costing us precious seconds in response time, you know?
So that goes along with the play action that was referenced earlier. Yep, okay. Yeah, I had that noted. I think that's a good idea.
Great.
Anybody else?
My freedom.
Well, Jim and Denise, thank you for your time and your interest in helping us out in this endeavor.
Good to meet most of you.
And if you want to just send me an email, so I'll have your email on.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Super. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Jim.
I don't remember when I sent that video. Do you guys remember how long ago it was?
It was quite a while ago. See if I can find it.
Yeah. If you happen to find it, just let me know what. I've got it here. I just don't remember what it is.
Okay. Next order of business is the review of the minutes of January 23rd.
Yep. Anybody need a copy? Who doesn't have one?
I guess it would just be the, discuss single story versus two-story, the, save the approximate amount. I don't know what that,
Yeah, down at the bottom, bullet,
is that
bottom
supposed to be
first page.
$2,500 or?
2,500,000, you're missing a zero if there's
Yeah,
a,
Oh, yeah.
some zeros.
The difference,
whatever the difference
it would
was.
be a saving of 2.5 million.
Right, you're missing
But I
a
missed
zero.
a zero, gotcha. Thank you.
On the bullet update on Zero College Highway, soils and exploration, I did not contact DigSafe. That's the responsibility of the Labries.
Okay, so what
You
should
said
it say?
Chief, I contacted DigSafe.
Yeah, that was wrong, okay.
Yes, that was-
So Jim gave permission
Jim
for
Labrie,
salvage
yep.
and offered his excavator and had contacted DigSafe.
Was responsible for contacting DigSafe.
Okay. And he made the contact,
Yeah,
right?
yes.
After January 24th, it said, when completed, Barry Chief and Mark will receive the report. That's not true. It should be just Barry Chief and Mark will conduct the, or witness the test pits. We don't.
Okay, thank you.
When, you just take the word when completed, just put Barry Chief and Mark will witness the excavation.
Okay.
And then where it says, Chief, I expects to hear, that's shortly after that about the
Yeah.
soils. Chief, I expects to hear from Jim Labrie when digging is complete. What did she, I would be there for that. I was there for that, so I'm not quite sure what that was referencing.
When digging is scheduled.
Scheduled, perhaps?
Yeah,
Okay.
digging is complete and scheduled.
Okay. Great.
And then Mark D. and Barry will be included in witnessing the excavation.
Well, that was the part where I thought you were all kind of talking about the results, but you witnessed it as well? Or
Well, that's
you were going to?
actually go out and watch the
Right.
excavation.
Yeah.
So how it was planned then?
Prepared.
So what should it say, Mark?
No, it's just Mark D. and Barry will witness the testing.
Okay, all right.
That would be it.
Well, can I just cross that whole thing off then? Because you said
Yeah.
above that you'll witness the excavation, so
Yeah,
I can
you
just
take
cross
the whole
that
line,
sentence
take the
off.
whole line off.
Okay. Bear's not here today, is he? Okay. Thanks for clarifying all that. You guys were going all around it. Just trying to get it. Is there any other ways to make it just right?
I think you got the context of it.
Sorry, just up on 7,
Task 7?
Task 7, that bullet point, just the draft quiz, take it on the town website, not just the Facebook pages.
Additionally.
Yeah, town website and hard copy.
Oh, on the town website, should say.
Yeah.
Yep.
And hard copy for,
And a hard copy for other citizens.
or hard copy will be placed, whatever, at the COA and library, whatever you want to say.
Okay. Charlie was.
It's almost that.
Oh,
I read further and found my answer.
okay.
So with those changes, I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
Second.
Second? Mark, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next order of business is comments on the joint meeting with the select board. Anybody want to comment on it?
I was impressed with the chair.
I saw that it seemed like it got
A good crowd.
a good crowd, and I think it, a lot of thought went into the importance of perhaps what this 54 acres could do. I certainly got that from the meeting.
I was surprised that there was not a single contrary comment from a very large crowd there.
The only thing I did hear afterwards, this was after the meeting ended, that there is a topographical change in the back end of the property going down towards the, what would be the bike path eventually, and the question is, could you put a sports field there? Probably not. Is this good for housing? Maybe.
Right, it's 54 acres, but it looks like, what, 13, 12 or 13 are on the other side of the tracks.
Or even on the front side of the
Against the
tracks,
river,
both
yeah.
sides, if you saw that, it was like 10, 12 feet tops.
In terms of usable acreage is not 54 for sure.
Right.
That's the only thing that somebody said, they were looking at the map that somebody had put up on the wall in the back, and, But I didn't hear any opposition at all to the whole idea of buying it. And I think that the next step was to get a price, is that for what the owners are offering it for.
Well, something in writing, and then, for us to figure out where we might find a source of funding as part of it.
For the bigger project.
Yeah.
Then for the entire 54-acre parcel.
Any more? Okay, move on to Zero College Highway soils update. So just to preface this, I was tasked to reach out to Jim Labrie and ask for permission for a soil evaluation at Zero College Highway. I reached out to him. Jim Labrie was very open to it. He even offered his equipment to do the test, the digging. And it was scheduled for, once DigSafe gave approval to do the digging, we scheduled, I believe it was Thursday? Was it Thursday at 9:30, and at the request of the committee, Barry and Mark were both present to witness it. And I'll let you lead from that point forward.
Okay. We did a test excavation in the southern portion of the proposed donated lot. We would prefer to have gone a little more south, but there was a large tree growth there. We didn't want to knock down much tree, but it was pretty much in the southern portion of the proposed donated lot where probably where the drain, stormwater management, and septic system would be located. And we had the excavator dig a hole. Went about 9 feet deep, and what we found was exactly what we thought was excellent, not just good, but excellent material. Granular sand, very light cobbles, clean sand. There's a soil process where you do a textural feel into the soils and determine how much silt it is. And when we test it, you rub it in your hand, you see if it stains you. If it stains, there's some clay in there. Zero stain, no evidence of water. Typically, when you dig a test pit, you can get down in a hole and see where what they call models in water on the line of the soil are to determine where the maximum high groundwater is. But in this particular type of soil, it's very difficult to do, and the soil was totally dry at the bottom of 9 feet. So it was exactly as was expected based upon soil reports. We covered up that hole and thought that it would be prudent, since we were there and we had a free excavator, to do a little more exploration. So we went northerly, I'll call it northerly, parallel to Route 10, up into approximately about the middle of the entire parcel, just to confirm that the soil matrix that was provided by USDA was accurate and there weren't any surprises. And so there was a second hole dug, and the exact same type of material. Very good material, excellent. Could not be better for both septic and drainage, stormwater management.
Excellent.
Questions or comments on that?
I have a question just to, how does this work? You dug a 9-foot hole?
Yes.
How wide?
It's for the width of a backhoe bucket.
Okay, my gosh. And then you dumped it all back in again?
Yes.
Okay.
Typically, we don't.
There's not a moose.
Yeah, typically we
dug
don't
by-
10, but he had a small excavator, so we didn't go to 10.
Golly.
But if I recall, there was no indication of water even at that
No,
point.
no indication of water. I looked as they came up for evidence in the soil covering modeling, I think it's uncertified.
Well, does that mean how are we going to bring water into it's going to be town water through the town well?
Yes.
Okay, no well,
Correct.
no additional well, okay.
And the water table wasn't at least at 9 feet.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
So you shouldn't have water coming up through the drains and...
No.
At the fire department.
No. Okay. Next is Zero College Highway.
Can I just ask one more
Sure.
question about soils? So last week you provided us with the USDA soil report.
Yes.
And I was thinking today, should that be posted on My Town Government or on the website in case anybody wants to look? If you have it as is it only a written report? Do you have it as
It's a
a
PDF.
As a
I sent it
PDF?
to everyone as a
I was just going to ask if people thought it should be posted or not.
Put it on the website. I mean, that's where I think these are the kinds of
Well,
things we want to
all right, the website.
get out on the
Just
public safety page.
Before you do that, I mean, the way you do it, you draw what they call an area of interest. And so I quickly sketched something over there which approximated where the parcel is. Now, if you wanted to do more careful analysis, we can go a little more. I mean, I thought it wasn't far off.
Whatever you think, yeah. And then we could post.
I just worry about people saying, well, that's not totally accurate,
We could put a little disclaimer on it.
Pardon?
Put a little disclaimer on it.
Yeah,
You know.
I mean, it's close. I mean, I balled the property line and sort of guessed where I thought the property line. But it's for soils analysis, not for property line.
Right.
So will there be another report of what you just reported on, the excellent excavation at 9 feet? Will there be another PDF of that, and should that be posted?
I mean, we didn't do, typically when you do DEP, you have a very specific log you have to go through. We did not do that. We just wanted to observe and confirm that it was as the soil report indicated it would be. I mean, I don't know, if we can add a paragraph on where we would put that paragraph.
Well, it could be in the minutes, but,
But if you post it, you could just say this is a preliminary soil, whatever, not even, I don't know, survey, I don't know if you'd say survey, but soil
Evaluation.
evaluations.
List vary my qualifications, but, because somebody had to make the call that it was what
Yeah.
we saw in there, so I don't want to go too far down that road.
Right.
I'd be glad to,
Yeah.
that's a difference.
All right, any more questions, comments? All right, moving right along, Zero College Highway land negotiations update. Ed, do you have anything for us?
I can give you an update. I had asked the Labries if they could get a letter to us by today. They have not. Jim's still working on that. I tried to help them out and put some bullet points together and send them to them as suggestions of what they might consider putting in that letter. So he has told me that he will have that to me by the end of the week, and as soon as I have it, I will send it out to the two chairs, and you can disseminate it to all committee members.
All right, thank you. And Task 7 update.
so you have your draft. Okay, passed enough around if you didn't get one. Anybody need one? Charlie, did you get one of these? There we go. So it's just,
Go back for a second. On the negotiation again, no one's go back to it, I think. I guess maybe this is my interpretation was that the parcel that the town would typically buy would be just the, I'll call westerly portion, nothing on the other side of the green line. I don't know if that wasn't ever clear in the verbiage that we were talking about.
No.
We're talking about 50 acres. On this sketch here, they have, the 41 acres is a westerly portion, on the other side of the greenway is another 11 acres.
If I recall correctly, it was essentially where the septic and drainage would be for the proposed building site, is really what the task was.
But if we're interested in the entire thing.
Negotiations.
Right. I think the whole parcel, the whole 50-some acres is 3 parcels, right?
Correct.
One of those includes, I think, from a map, between the bike trail down to the river, am I right? Or from the end of the property down to the bike trail, somewhere there.
Right.
It goes down to the bike trail at least. I don't know if it's on the other side of the bike trail.
I didn't know if we were purchased on the.
I think, I'm not sure if that's part of their parcel. That might be.
Yes, it is, you can see it right there.
Yeah, this is from the.
There's the bike trail, and that's a part of it.
I mean, I think what we'd end up having to refer to would be whatever the parcels are per the assessor's map, right? I mean, whatever those delineations are. So I don't
The
know.
big one of the 2 parcels that this committee is looking at is in map 19, lot 141. And then there are 2 other parcels that would be put together to get to the
Right,
54 acres.
that's the 11, yeah, the 11 acres. So that might be one of those listed parcels, I don't know. Perhaps, but yeah, I think we're trying to look at everything that is part of that, however far that goes, I guess.
Prejudging, but that's on a lower area, probably.
Yeah.
More wetlands, and just maybe wildlife or
Yeah.
conservation.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I don't know how you determine the value of that versus the regular land too, so how do we know we get a fair price? I have no idea.
Anything when negotiating the price, are they gonna take, would that be something that we want to separate out, that 11 acres? I don't see any immediate benefit for that. Or is it worth separating out? I throw it out there now rather than.
That's a good point. I mean, are we paying the same per acre price as we would for, frontage and the flat areas with all the great soil, as we would for something that's really steep and going on the opposite side of the greenway? I think that's a good question.
Well, perhaps that parcel will be appraised differently too, correct?
Yeah, that would be.
Individually, yeah.
Separately, so the decision can be made as to.
Yeah. But I can't imagine that they would want to keep that one parcel for themselves if they were going to sell off all the rest, though. I mean, I think it's,
Landlocked.
yeah, I mean, it wouldn't do them any good either. I mean, but I think what you're trying to say is that the value of that property, if it's all wetlands, that we can't do much with down there, that value versus the flat land that you just did the soil work on, there's 2 different animals, right?
Yes.
Well, the other thing is, who are the, and I don't have the answers to this, whose land is on the opposite side of the land that's on the other side of the bike trail? Meaning, is there a butter that might be interested in that to?
It's Grindstone.
Grindstone, I think.
It's
I'm mapping it
Grindstone.
right now, and my mapping actually shows you who owns what.
Okay, great.
And,
It's Muni Mapper, maybe? And
If you
would they be
look at-
interested in buying it? If the town bought it all, would Grindstone want to buy some of it? Yeah.
That being College Highway, that being
Right.
the big parcel, that being Grindstone, that's,
Yep.
and then you look at this little piece here, that's also belongs to them. But if you look at the field next door,
That's Grindstone. Yep.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
I don't know if you could actually go down that path at this point in time. I mean, I think it's more to Mark's question of, whatever price we get offered, how do you distinguish between the good flat land that you've been on versus these other 11 acres out of the bunch that really may not have a value that we can do anything with. So it may be, I don't know, would that be something that an appraiser would do, would be to look at all different sections of a parcel? I mean, would they?
They would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like, they're gonna come back with a price for that 54 acres. Guess what? That's gonna include what could be 4 commercial lots and residential. Probably got per square foot, 2 different values to it, but you're gonna get you're gonna combine that and give you X amount for the parcel. So they're gonna look at how it's zoned, how it, topography, part of it's wetlands or non-usable, yeah.
Yeah, because I think that was part of what Rich was just saying, is that, if we've got 11 acres that is more more wetlands that is really not gonna be buildable, might not even be good for any kind of ball field or anything else, plus way back there, it might not be.
Well, it might
terribly
not, but it
valuable.
might be worthwhile to have as an extension to the greenway, whether you put trails off of it, you know, much like, you know, over here off
Yeah.
East Street, or,
Right.
you know, is it a place that might be, you know, considered a decent place for a stopping off place on the bikeway to, you know, put a couple of picnic tables or whatever for a breakpoint too, so.
Okay.
So it may have some value to the town, maybe
Yeah.
just as much as,
Right.
you know, the appropriate and the same size acreage up above.
Right.
All right. Cindy, you want to proceed with?
Well, yeah, I'll just say that when we left the last meeting, I think the idea of whether or not to include additional towns was kind of in the hands of you too, if you thought there were other towns, so I didn't even put anybody on the far right there, so.
I did send an email to Warren Police, the Warren Police
Okay.
Chief. I'm just waiting on a response still.
All right. And I think we also talked about not making this too complicated, with too many vertical columns, but then everybody really liked the idea that Mark came up with of, you know, including the future potential of what we're looking for and what's different about it. So that's where that stands right now. I think at this point, somebody else could be filling in some stuff. There's some holes and some question marks, like under the Dalton one, some of it wasn't clear. I think you primarily reached out as to the fire department. We didn't get very much on police
I didn't get
department
anything yet.
response.
Yeah, I'll reach out
In
again.
Dalton, if you have somebody that could do that. Hadley, there's just, I think, there's a couple of question marks there. You can see them. Number of fire trucks. And then down here,
There's a shooting range.
do they have a shooting range? And then I think the final thing is, do we have too much? Are we missing something?
Yeah, again, not to go full circle of having too much, should we have in here number of runs? I mean, if some town has one fire a year, or do we have, 300 fires a year, or and the EMT runs? Is that gonna make it too complicated to follow? I mean, sometimes that shows a need for our services, but I don't know what we do with police calls.
I think I can tell you statistically, generally, like, it depends on the size of the town, so long as the socioeconomic, diversity is the same, if you will. So for instance, East Hampton's 3 times the size of Southampton. Well, East Hampton has almost 3 times as many 911 calls as us. There's a very clear correlation between the population but that's based strictly on the socioeconomic background of that community, right? So we're similar to East Hampton. It might be much different, for instance, Holyoke, or a more urban city where there's higher levels of poverty.
So it might be too many apples and oranges.
Right.
What about like Amherst that has a student population, a big-time student? Do they tend to have a lot more because?
Yes, and I think that would be skewed.
That would be a different demographic. I think it's not a bad idea to have that, but I don't know that it would fit in this chart. I think at some point we would want to talk about the level of activity of both departments, but probably not in this chart. I don't think it would fit in here very easily to be understood.
Confusing to go with.
It might be.
So I propose that maybe between the two of you, you could either do it yourself or assign someone to fill in the holes here. And also, if you get responses from Warren, you can put that in there. If you want to give it to me at some point, or call me up and I'll come down to the station and pick it up, and I'll retype everything into it. If you want me to email this to you, will you? You have it anyway. You have it anyway. I think Christina emailed them out to you.
Okay.
In the Southampton future, we would just be taking out of the report we got from HKT.
Yeah, I would say so. And then come back with thoughts, because as you tried to fill it out or something, what else do we need to do? And then I think the next question is, what do we do with this? Do we just have it available for distribution? Do we have it on the website? Which, of course, we can. Do we have it connected to Facebook pages?
The
Or do
objective
we
of
include
this-
it in the brochure?
Well, let's consider the objective. The objective is to demonstrate to the community that this is necessary. We're not just asking for things that are unreasonable. Comparable, municipalities have buildings such as this, and the need for that. I think the objective of this is to show the community that we're not asking for more than we should be. We're trying to meet today's standards. And if this is the standards that many of these municipalities are going to, that's the standard of police and fire operations of the building, or the capabilities of the building, then we should be there as well, right? Isn't that the objective of this?
Is that, everybody agree with that? Is that the objective? Is there anything else that's part of why we're doing this?
I think we'll have to comply with
I'm wondering if we were to hand this out like this, I don't know that I would know what to do with it if I didn't know anything about anything, which I don't. I guess I'm wondering if, like under the Southampton in particular, you make a double column there, in that column, divide it up, PD, FD, so you can follow it down very easily, because otherwise you're reading, parking spaces, FD 10, PD 30, yeah, okay, but what is that? I don't know. I guess I read up and down rather than I do a cross more. And like on PD, well, you've got, maybe it's not every question. That may be just a question I just happen to pick that's a double question.
Yeah,
The other
not
ones-
all, some of them are separated, like, police vehicles is not combined with fire trucks.
So maybe it's easier to separate them out rather than have them combined.
Okay.
That might be.
It'll need more horizontal rows if we separate it.
Some of these might not necessarily be all that necessary. For instance, parking spaces, right? The reasons why we have the parking spaces is that's just because we've ended up in the buildings that we ended up. That wasn't a design of those, the parking space. So the police department has 30 parking spaces only because it used to be a town hall, right?
Yeah.
And the fire department has maybe 2.
Yeah.
That are dedicated
Because
to the
it
fire
was
department.
essentially,
Right.
a small building that the fire department took over. And that's the reason for that. It's not by design. A lot of this isn't, for instance, the square footage of the police department seems like that's far too much than we need. It is. It's
Yeah.
because we're in a very large building
Right.
with space that is unnecessary.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it can be misleading.
It can be
I think.
misleading.
That's what I'm just trying to figure out what's going to be relevant. to
There's
try
an
and
option for
compare.
notes at the bottom, or that could be moved to the top, the notes, like disclaimer sorts of notes that you're making as to what we want people to grab from this data. Or, in answer to your question, Chris, I'm thinking, should this have a narrative preamble to it somewhere, please read this and understand blah, blah, blah. This is why we're doing this, and this, we're sharing this information in comparison. I know when we first came up with this idea of comparing with other communities, way the heck back when Sarah was our chair and we said we needed to compare with other communities, I think we've all lived with this for a while, so I think we have to, too bad we didn't get Jim and Denise's response to this while they were here.
I wonder if we have to come up with a balance between information overload and also just having knowledge to answer questions that people may have. Right? So we give out what we think is prudent and necessary, but also have the knowledge base to answer questions that people ask us.
I agree.
Charlie?
Would this not be our cheat sheet when we go in front of people, when we hand out the brochure, so that if we're not sure about something, we can look back and say, hey, in the town of Dalton, they have this, however, we don't even have that.
And that's kind of what I was leading towards,
Yeah.
as in like, we give out the very more basic comparisons, but yet we have this information to answer questions in the meeting, as a cheat
It's
sheet.
basically educating ourselves
That's how I,
as to how we're going to respond to different questions.
Or if people ask for it, we have it available, if they need a copy of it, but not going out to the mass public. Not that it's secret, but it's just too much, it's
It's just
information.
fun. But it's like, one of my jobs in a former life was to inspect all the lockups in the town hall. this lockup, I've never seen anything as bad as this lockup.
It passes every year, though, still passing. But, to be very candid, I think what's really going to be the most important drive here is to show how poor our current buildings are and that we're not asking for too much, and what we're asking for is for function. You know, I really think that that's going to be the driving point. That's what we have to get across. Because they're going to look at, the price tag is going to be the major factor. I really believe it is.
That's right.
The other part of it is that people have to realize is even if we vote today that this is going to happen, we're 2 years out minimum before it actually gets to be utilized.
Yeah, I think at one point, I guess I thought we were going to use part of this as a tie-in terms of the design and cost. You know, once we had some cost estimates that are going to, you know, shock the socks off of people, it's like, yeah, but we aren't, you know, asking for a whole lot. We're asking for the basic functionality again. And this is that kind of, you know, backup argument. But I guess I don't remember in task 7 how that was going to be used in the scheme of things with HKT. I know we were responsible for it, but what it was supposed to do,
Right.
I think I need to review that again.
So when we're talking about square footage, what's important is to show that Granby, almost identical, you know, demographically identical to Southampton, has this much square footage. Our public safety building, because they have a public safety building there, we're requesting similar square footage. We're not asking for anything more than what's necessary.
And their building is what, 12 years old?
Yeah, 2012, so, yeah, 10 years, 11 years old. So Chris, I think when we were putting out the RFQs for getting who would be the feasibility study providers, this was what we thought was necessary, and what HKT came back with in their negotiation, you probably even remember this, you know, these are things we can do for X number of dollars, but if you want this, it's going to cost more, and if you can do it by yourself, then it won't cost, you know, we're not going to be charged for it, so that's why we're doing it.
Yeah, no, I just want to be clear in terms of what the purpose is. I mean, what's the end use that, you know, so that
I think he said it.
we're making it manageable for any of us, let alone if somebody wanted a copy, that they would understand it without us having to sit there and explain it to everybody too. I mean, it should be something that, you know, you ought to be able to look at it and understand what it's talking about.
I think the things that you have said today, like the police department is not ADA compliant and doesn't meet, you know, basic standards for certain important things that have to happen in a police department, those could be in notes. And then, of course, how are we going to go back to all the others? We assume Granby and Hadley or newer facilities that they meet those kind of requirements. Anyway, those are kinds of thoughts that I have to really make this a useful thing to show what we can. So we got to work on it a little bit more.
Sure. So just to recap, what Chief Fasoli and I will do, we'll try to, you know, I can actually do it. I'll look at this, try to fill in those missing pieces, right?
Okay.
And then I think maybe we'll determine what we actually want on here is applicable to its intent.
Yep. Bye, Charlie.
Bye, Charlie. Anything, we're approaching the 6 o'clock hour here, so any more on task 7?
Yeah, well, not task 7.
Are there any lines that we could delete to make your job easier? Like parking spaces?
Most of those are, I just won't, if someone doesn't have them, I'll look at, essentially, there's very few question marks here, so I can.
Well, to avoid information overload,
Right.
or if somebody who's trying to make sense of this?
Yes. Oh, as far as people making sense of it, yes, yeah. Yes.
I think as you go through, you might decide that something like parking spaces could be crossed off. Mostly it seems really applicable, though, I have to say, when I was working on it. It just seems important to know holding cells and Sally Port.
Oh, yeah, sure, sure.
EMS in town.
I just think with our current parking spaces, it's not representative of what's maybe necessary.
So that might be one that,
No.
Okay. I do remember when we went to Granby, when the heck was that? We had the tour, they said they didn't plan for enough parking space. Remember that? They also said they didn't plan for enough storage. Everybody said that.
Right.
We didn't put storage in here.
But I think part of that is also, that's the engineers, some of their responsibilities, right? For the design. Okay, so I'll work on filling out that, and and then perhaps at another meeting, we can kind of focus on how we really want to tailor
Sure.
this. Does that work?
Sure. The other,
Yeah, go ahead. Nope.
I guess that's part of the next one, is the frequently asked questions. So there's 2 copies here. One of them is a larger print and one of them is smaller font. And what happened was I asked Chris to give some input, and she did, but I had already gone ahead and forwarded it off to Christina, so it got distributed, and I also did additional edits. So you got 2 copies here. The larger one is a little bit older, but it has Chris's ideas on there, and the ones in a smaller font is more updates. I think everybody should look at these. And I don't know if you as chair can agree that they could email me their responses if they had thoughts. Can we do that? Or is that not open meeting law, that you could just send me their ideas so that I can end up with one copy of the next draft?
I'd have to ask Ed or Chris on your opinion of that.
I think people could,
As long as they didn't do it in a group, they just...
yeah, I think people could email to you individually rather than,
They can email to Cindy individually? Or would it go to me?
or to the chair, to the chair.
Yeah, I
to pass
think we
on.
agreed that things go
Okay.
to
Go to
the
the chair,
chair.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, not a reply all kind of thing, but, somebody could, say,
Then you
here's
could
my
forward it to me.
comments, and I think you could forward
So
them
if you
on.
want to just
Am I right, Ed, on that?
individually,
I think I'm right on that. Ed's
Ed.
not listening.
What?
quick question, Ed.
Yes.
We wanted to get feedback from all the members relative to the frequently asked questions. And if the members emailed me anything that they'd like changes or additions to it, and then individually emailed me, and then
Right.
I emailed those responses to Cindy so she could put together,
Okay.
that's okay?
That is okay.
All right.
So I'll come with the next draft next.
So you said this one was the latest one, but this one's got the additional answers to questions that you don't have on this one.
Yeah, I know, that's great. I didn't get your answers. So I'm gonna combine them.
Okay.
I don't think there's a latest. They both-
I reviewed it, I thought it was excellent.
But the other, yeah, but be sure that I got the right answers. There's some holes there that, unless, well, anyway, just, we'll read it again and,
Bring it up at the next meeting, too.
All right.
yeah, and I'll be available. I'll
Yep.
have it for the next meeting.
Okay.
Just one last thing, because
Yeah.
it'll be happening before the last meeting. So I have done the trivia quiz. I took out the notion on the one question about the fire department is known as volunteer, call, or part-time, because that seemed to be very confusing to everybody. And it's like, we'll deal with that later. I know Chief Workman used to make a big deal to me anyway about, we're not a volunteer department, we're a call department. It's like, okay, I got it. But I didn't have a good third choice for an answer, so I swapped out the question completely. But it's been put out as a coming soon, just to try and attract people's attention. So there's a coming soon notice on the town website, on the town Facebook page. It's been picked up by Southampton community page, Facebook as well, coming soon. It's in the church newsletter. It's, where is it? It's printed out, so I'm going to have hard copies, a hard copy to be at the senior center and at the library. So, and the only caveat there is that they won't get their immediate response if they're right or wrong. So there's a separate sheet if they want to keep track of their answers. They can do that later, but they won't know. Anybody who does the hard copy at senior center or library, they won't know the answers till the quiz is closed, which is a 10-day thing. So my goal is to put it out on Wednesday, the 1st, and have it open through the 10th. So the first one will go out.
Update our Facebook
Yeah,
page tomorrow.
right,
Yep.
and so you can do that coming soon. I sent it around. Yeah, you can either do that or just, when I put it out on the Facebook page, it'll have a link to it. The people will click it on the link, so I can just send you the link and you can put it out at that point too, however you want to do it. But we'll try it and see how it goes. I mean, I don't know. We'll get one out there. Maybe. That's it.
All right. Now, did that incorporate our last bullet here on the,
Agenda?
as far as public engagement?
Well,
We were in task 7. And then we kind of that went into public engagement as well. Is there anything else that we want to include in public engagement?
I think you just wanted to figure out photos.
I do, oh, yes. So I would like to get back to John Richards from the package store sooner than later relative to which photos we want to send him, or do we just send them all and kind of give him this, with the exception of the one that Rich, you said was not current with the, some updates with the lockers. The year. But I would like to start giving them something to work with here.
Do you want to also, as a space holder, maybe not all 18 of these questions, 17, but is that something that would be useful to have in the brochure, some of the more frequently asked questions, the sort of the straightforward ones like, why do we need a new public safety building? And I mean, what is it we're trying to say in the brochure that's going to go out to the whole town?
We want to, I think what the goal here, the objective, let's talk about the objective. The objective is for the community to recognize the necessity of it. And some of those questions are relative to that, for sure. So I think that's going to, that perhaps, and maybe some of the data on there already is data that they could use. Because we want to give them some autonomy, right? And they're going to give us much like an edited version that we can edit later.
Yep.
And that brochure has to be reviewed by a complement page?
What's that?
Come up, the brochure needs to be reviewed, make sure it's not requesting a vote one way or the other.
Good night.
I will obviously notify them, make them understand that this is strictly for informational purposes and not for anything other than that.
So we don't have an answer for certain if it has to be reviewed, legal review. You said it may.
I'll tell you after I see it. I can't give you a definitive answer on something
I think it came up before because you said it was going to be, I didn't know what to put in the minutes here, so unknown.
I think if they're under the direction, if they're under the direction that this cannot be used for any type of political reasons or anything like that, it's strictly for informational purposes, so people can make an informed decision.
Sure.
Like, that's how I'll direct them if the committee's okay with that, and hopefully the product will demonstrate that.
Okay.
Is the committee okay with me reaching out to them? If we, how are those photos? Anything anyone else wants to add?
Is this going to be a black and white brochure? Or is it
I don't believe so. No, it's color.
Could be color.
I mean, there may be some that are on your website that are even better. I don't know, on your Facebook page? Like the one you got with there's one I know that shows, I think, the narrowness of all the fire apparatus.
Right.
On
I mean,
the front
they
end.
had it in the video there, but yeah, I mean, we could take new pictures, that's no problem.
I don't want to overwhelm pictures, but I think the picture of the front door of the police office is pretty incriminating.
Sure.
I don't know.
Yep.
And what do you mean by the front?
Yeah.
But I think,
I would like them just to start getting, so they can at least establish a baseline, so they can start working on it, because I don't want to have to say, oh, by the way, we need this in a week, right? I want them to start being able to start working on it, because we can always edit it, say, you know what, we'd rather this photo, we think it's more influential.
yeah. I think the one that's got all your communication stuff, I think I would want that one in there.
Oh, definitely.
For sure.
When you say that, do you mean the one with all the wires?
The top one with the wires and the phones and
Yes,
the
yes,
chargers
yeah.
and whatever there.
Yeah.
How about the water coming up through the floor in the fire department?
Yeah.
As long as they know that's what it is, not
It's
just
here,
snow melt or
that's in the
something.
video though. We have a hard, I'm gonna have a
I
still
know.
photo of it. Yeah, the inadequate door clearance, I think, could be another one. I mean, you probably only want 4 or 5 photos, right? So, one of each station, inadequate door clearance applies to both, really.
Do we want to show the community how old these buildings are through the depiction of the photos, as far as, did we do that?
Yeah, like the original.
Yeah, the
Right.
original
The original
photos.
ones?
I think the original
Yeah.
photos would be great, yeah, personally. Yeah.
Actually, the historical calendar this year has a nice picture of the fire station where it was probably just a fire station, you know, when it just started. So,
And Becky Nimmons is the one that puts that calendar together, and she works with John Richards,
Yes,
so.
yeah.
She could find that photo if we wanted that. But yeah, but I think the two old photos of the station, and then something on door clearance, something on communication, something on whatever else, I'm not sure. Maybe one or two other ones that would work.
All right. I just want them to start having something, I want them to be able to start working on it. I just don't want it to get too late in the year.
And then as far as that goes, we have to let our town clerk know to order the labels. I think that takes a few days. She gets them from some state office or something, you know, for every household.
She wouldn't have just a Excel sheet list that could go.
She gets it from somewhere else. It comes into Excel. I don't think it's something she has.
No, but I'm wondering if, yeah, okay. I just thought maybe as a mailer that if the printer people had the mailing list, no?
No, she orders the actual, I mean, she orders an Excel sheet that can be converted to be labels, can be printed on labels. Just might want to ask her, or I can ask her how she does it. I know she did it for us a few years ago.
Are you saying that we would print the labels, or?
No, the printer.
Oh, that's what I'm saying too, that they should print the labels, yeah, okay, got
And
it.
as far as postage, this came up previously, that's why I'm remembering some of this, but does John have an indicia, you know those indicias permit number that if you get a mass mailing?
I
Or is
would
it-
imagine, I don't know, but I
Yeah.
imagine he does based on the form of type
Yes, he
business he
does,
has.
yeah.
But his fee included postage.
Okay, that's good. It's just a little cheaper if it's an indicia.
So do we need another meeting before we meet with HKT, or what's our next schedule here? I'm losing track of things.
Well, it's on the back of the minutes, the scheduled meetings.
It's on the 12th, so that's only 2 weeks away anyway.
Yeah.
Not even.
And they're gonna present the site and evaluation plan. And pretty soon they're gonna be looking for dates for when they're gonna do the community meetings. They're gonna wanna get that on the schedules, and we're gonna wanna get it on the Norris schedule too.
Scheduled that we are having mass mailing, the date of the community meeting should be included in that. Everybody's going to receive.
Yeah, there you go.
that.
Take advantage
So
of that
we
mass
make it-
mailing.
They choose a date for the mass meeting, and then that, I'm assuming it'd be nice to put that in the brochure somehow or another, because that's a way to contact everybody,
Yeah,
basically.
the sort of the informational meeting with HKT, yeah.
And if we know the annual town meeting date, you may not know that.
We do, it's the same, well, I mean, technically it's the same weekend every year, unless we decide to postpone it for any reason.
Oh, I didn't know.
It's in our bylaws.
What is that weekend?
I do believe it's the second weekend of May, Ed, am I right?
What's that?
Town meeting, second weekend of May, usually? Town meeting,
First Tuesday in May.
first Tuesday of May. Well, see what I know.
First Tuesday in May.
And then the annual election is the third Tuesday.
Third Tuesday, there we go, okay.
And just so the committee knows, I received an email, I think some other people did too, but from Amy Dunlap from HKT. She was wondering if we could reach out to the Labries relative to the topographic information that they may have, if they have it, because it would be helpful. I can, now with the communication that I've had with Jim Labrie, I can reach out to Jim and see if they have anything available for HKT for their engineering process. The civil engineers.
I know Heritage has the.
I think Heritage.
Heritage does?
Yeah, they have it, yeah.
Okay,
They prepared the maps.
okay.
Does anything exist at planning board that, would anything exist at planning board that they would?
Yeah, there's hard copies and there's PDF, digital copies.
So, I mean,
That are available through planning?
Should be available to planning. I know a planning board member.
I do too.
Thank goodness.
Would you be able to get that to me by any chance?
Yes.
All right, great, thank you.
I mean, I think they would probably prefer to Well, if they just looking at this parcel, they don't need.
It's specifically for PAR.
Pardon?
It's specifically for PAR. She's
For
asking.
their subcon,
For their civil engineer.
Sure.
Yeah.
at least something to start with, maybe. All right.
All right.
So the question you asked was, do we need another meeting either
Yes, well,
before the 12th or what?
Well, I didn't know if we'd need one in terms of the video stuff, and with
Yeah.
Jim and Denise, that was my only thought,
Yeah.
personally, but I don't know,
I don't-
time's tight.
I think, I don't know.
I mean, I think if you can pass the feedback on to East Hampton Media, and there happens to be some date during the week of the 5th that people could get together that works with Jim and Denise, I'd say go for it. I
Okay,
mean,
that's,
I don't think we need a committee decision to,
all right.
engage East Hampton Media, just keep on moving with it,
And the next meeting is scheduled for when?
It's February 12th at 4 o'clock, and it includes Zoom
Yeah.
presentation by HKT with site evaluation, and then it says right on there, the date of public meetings, they need that at that point.
All right. Any other business? No? We have a motion to adjourn? Second? I'll second. Can I second?
Anybody?
All in favor?
All right, and it's 6:17.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.